Hello and welcome to a new episode of Forbes Voices, a podcast with and about people to follow in your career, especially dedicated to young people at the beginning of their journey. Today with us is Henk Paardekooper, chairman of the executive committee and member of the board of directors of First Bank. Henk has over 30 years of international banking experience, including managing divisional, country and regional business, as well as assets and portfolios in widely diverse geographies and markets, with an emphasis on Central and Eastern Europe. He worked in Romania from 2011 to 2014 as a country executive for the Royal Bank of Scotland. Welcome, Henk. So, first of all, thank you for being here, Henk, and welcome to our podcast. I would love to start with the real beginning and to ask you what were your passions and hobbies when you were just a kid?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a big pleasure being here. And well, we go back a long time. When I was a kid. Well, what do kids do? They want to play. I wanted to play outside. I wanted to be active. I wanted to play football. I was crazy about playing football. My father taught me how to fish, so I did some fishing when I was a kid. But basically, as I said, like many kids do, you live really by the day, and you enjoy being outside, playing on the street. A lot of playing on the street in those days, and I very much liked playing football. Yeah.
What did you think the future would look like when you were just a kid?
You know, the nice things about being a kid is that you don't really think about the future too much. Right. So it depends what you define the age of being a kid.
Maybe a teenager.
Being a teenager, yeah. Now you live very much day by day, and when you are in high school, what keeps you busy is your next exam. To pass the exam, to making friends, making connections, and a little bit later, of course, you become interested in the girls too.
Was that something that you were afraid back then?
No, I don't think. I mean, there is nothing from those days that haunted me. I was afraid. I was afraid for dogs. I was very afraid for dogs. I have overcome that fear. I was afraid for dogs and frogs. I was very afraid of frogs. I still don't like frogs. And I also remember that I was quite afraid of how you call it, thunder and lightning.
Okay.
But other than that, nothing. I was too much worried about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's dig in more about the professional part of
yes.
you. Was there a job that you dreamed of back there that coincide with what you're doing right now?
Well, I mean, maybe I liked football. I wanted to become a professional football player, but I think that when I was 15, 16, 17, I figured out that was not going to happen. Then for a while, I remember I wanted to become a fighter pilot, and I also figured out that was not really based on was based on excitement rather than. But I must say that already at teenager age, I was very much interested in economics.
Okay.
There was a famous book. It's still famous. It's from Adam Smith. Scottish writer, and he wrote in 1770 something a book which is called The Wealth of Nations, and it's a book about economics, and actually it's also a little bit of philosophy. And that book, I read that book, and it's a difficult book to read because it's written in the old language style okay. English. And it's a very famous book. If you go Google it, you will find it. And that book, The Wealth of Nations, was because it's considered the first book that describes the principle of the free market and the competitive elements of what free markets can bring. And it's about economic development, and it's about prosperity, and it's about innovation, and it's about how nations, that's why it's called The Wealth of Nations, can become wealthy. And he was arguing that the people who live in that nation needs to become wealthy, and for this you need the free market. And that book attracted me already in those days a lot. I don't remember anymore how I stumbled on it, but I did like economy. But economy is a social science. It's but at the same time, I also liked very much the mathematics, the numbers, the real
stuff,
the really stuff. And so then I found out that actually less than a year before I graduated from high school and had to choose where to go or what university, that there is a study and it's called econometrics. And econometrics combines basically, it's sort of how it described a bit, but in basically it combines the social science economics and very much, of course, the technical, the number element of mathematics. And when I found out that econometrics existed and that you could study it, then it was absolutely clear for me. I am going to study econometrics, and that's how I went. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Going back a few years in time, we are meeting a younger Henk that was graduating university. Do you remember exactly what was your primary feeling that you felt right now when you were just ready to going in the real life, the professional life?
So I remember when I graduated from university, it was 1988. It sounds long ago. It is long ago, but some of it is really like not very, very vividly. Still, I remember. It was a tough time. I mean, we all say that it's a tough time when we graduate from university. Now we have another generation who also has a tough time. But it was a tough time in the Netherlands because it was really not going well with the economy. There was big inflation. There was mass unemployment. I had to go into the army. It was still mandatory in the 80s in the Netherlands that you had to go to the army. So I became an officer in the army for I think it was 18 months, something like this, one and a half year. And then I was really finally eager to enter the labor market. I also remember very well that 4 years of study, 1.5 years, I think, sort of like that in the army. That I really wanted to go working, and I thought I thought that I knew it all. I had my university bill in the pocket. I had 1.5 years of training. I was an officer in the army. I was lieutenant. So I thought I'm really ready for it, and the world is really waiting for Henk, but the world was not waiting for Henk. And actually later on I realized that I didn't actually know a lot. You think when you come from university that you know a lot, and maybe you do know a lot theory.
Yes, theory.
But practice,
not so much.
you don't know much, no. But I was very enthusiastic, and I really wanted to work, and I also remember that I was looking for a role. I could actually quite luxury choose from different job offers in different industries. But there was one from ABN. It was then the largest Dutch international bank, and they had a great management trainee program. And I got through the assessment and the evaluation and all the tests. I was then very happy that I could join the bank. And now 35 years later, it was 1989. We're now talking summer 1989. So it's 35 years ago. It's unbelievable how fast. But I'm very, very pleased that I'm still enjoying banking, and I had a great time and still having a great time. Yeah.
What's the main research you think young teen should have when he starts their career?
So I think, so what I remember, and I think what's really important, is that you are hungry for learning, for experience, for growth, for getting the opportunity to build up a skill set and to increase your skill set and to get support and to get feedback. I think that is for any job that you would do, regardless of what industry, that you are really curious, that you want to learn and to develop and to grow and to explore, and that you have an environment around you in the company or wherever you're going to work, and with the people around you, and that give that to you, and that support you and that help you, because you don't really know when you're 16, 17, 18, and okay, when I went to work after university and military drafts, I was 1989, yeah, it was 24, 25. And you need to find out what is really something what it really is that is giving you that sort of tick that you say, this is what I like. And I must say, I was working in a bank, but the first few years I was also not really feeling that I was at my place. So I was an account manager for SME clients in the Dutch network. After 1.5 years, I don't think I didn't like it, but I was too impatient. I wanted to move on, and I worked on in a general staff job, about policy modeling and calculating for banks, which I also did not do that long, for a year and a half. And then I got in touch with investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, and corporate finance. And I tried my luck there. I thought that they would kick me out because I was 4 years in the bank and I was already asking for my third job. But anyway, they didn't, and that was when I really felt this is it for me, and I stayed there in that field for over 10 years, and there I grew from being a junior up to becoming a managing director and head of the department. And that was not because I saw that as my career path, but I thought that was absolutely the thing that I liked so much and that I wanted to do so much. And I think for everyone needs to find out that, and that you do start doing something. That's what I said. I believe personally that you need to have this ambition, this curiosity, that you want to learn and experience and taste and smell and feel new things, and at a certain point you will find the connect, and don't be too afraid if you are looking and exploring a bit in the first years of your career. Then comes that point, and when you have that connect, and then all your energy goes into that, and then automatically when you like what you do, you're good at it, and when you do what you like, it's sort of it's reinforcing itself, and then that was how it went for me, from university into banking and then into investment banking. Yeah.
What does a day in professional life of a man that owns the position that you currently have looks like, from the morning to the afternoon?
Well. How does a day in the bank look? Busy, okay. I think each day. Busy, but meeting a lot of people in the bank, of course. Meeting a lot of people in the bank, meeting clients, meeting people outside the bank, and banking. I really like banking, because banking is without banks. Society, let me put it differently. Banks play an important role in society because they make sure that you can pay, that you can buy things and that you can pay. Imagine that you could not pay for something. Yeah. And then of course banks are being trusted for taking money from it, and so it's your money and you put it in the bank, so you must really trust the bank. And you can go to the bank for a loan if you want to buy a house, or if you want to take a personal loan, and also for companies when they want to make investments, they go to banks. So that's a really essential service to the society. And we could also see that when during the pandemic, which was tough and tragic, and everyone was talking about we can close everything, but not the grocery stores, not the pharmacies, and not the banks. So that's really what I like about banking. So an average day in the life of guys, sometimes a little bit too many meetings, but it remains very interesting to be in a bank and to speak to people, to meet people. As I said, also clients. One of the nice things about it that our clients are families, are private individuals, households, as we call them, but also companies in all sectors of the economy. So in 35 years of banking, I have met so many companies in so many sectors because of me being in banking and being a banker, and that's really interesting and really very stimulating. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite story from banking, from inside work?
A favorite story? Well, I mean, I was in 35 years, a lot of things happened, and I was in many countries working and or living. And you know, it's a bit like when people ask me, you was in this country, and you was in this country, or in this city, and what country did you like most, or what city did you like most? And I don't have an answer to that. I cannot say, because you cannot compare countries or cities. They're all very, very different. At the end of the day, wherever you are, you have the same rhythm. You wake up, you go to bed, you have a life. You wake up, you wake up, you go to the office, you go to the bank, you go to work, you have a life. And it's nice if you are in a nice country or nice place or nice city, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you have people around you that's not necessarily all nice people, because you really want to achieve something. Yeah, it's quite demanding. You have a certain ambition as a bank. You want to achieve something. And which requires a lot of work to manage the bank, to lead the bank. But my most favorite story, I don't have one. I have many anecdotes, but I don't have the most favorite one.
That's a good thing. Good answer. Tell me now, what are the main qualities that a leader should have?
Yeah, well, that's an easy question. I think libraries full have been written about leadership. If I'm at any airport, you will always find in the bookstores books about how to become an effective leader, how to become this, how to become that. So apparently it's not something easy.
No, it's not.
But I think, so what is leadership? So if leadership is sometimes being, let's say, defined as the action of inspiring others to work together, to work in concert, to achieve a certain goal. It's certainly about direction, it's about vision, it's about direction, it's about drive. And then you get, of course, all the ingredients like inspiration, motivation, teamwork, communication, direction, vision, delivery, common goals, a bit of resilience and stress, coping with stress would help, for sure. Embracing the change, being curious about the unknown, taking risks. If you want to achieve something, innovate something, you need to take risks. Dealing with failures. So I think all these components are in leadership. And do you need to have all of that? I mean, you should ask others about it, and whether I would have all of that. But I think at the end, what really stands out is direction, drive, passion. You need to lead with passion, and you need to be close. You need to be close, staying close to yourself. You need to be authentic. They say that it is really true. You need to be close to yourself, and don't take it too seriously. Sometimes I think we all take it all very, very seriously. Sometimes it's good to take a bit of a step back, and it's all But I think all of these ingredients, they play a role. And I think as well, what I think also is that in that journey, how you need to also demonstrate that that you have let's say a diverse set of experiences. That of course comes back to, do you embrace change? You're curious to go into the unknown? And I see a lot of people who are absolutely, truly experts in their field. In their field, they're absolutely the expert. But for a CEO, I think it's also important that you demonstrate that you are not only the expert. If I need expert advice, I go to an expert. Mm-hmm. I should not be myself the one to provide that expert advice. So in my case, I think working and living in different countries, but also in banking, I started off as mentioned, as an account manager, but then investment banking, and then came wholesale banking and commercial banking and retail banking. So you do, I think that at the end of the day, the experience is required. It's not just from the university and the books.
Exactly. What were the most difficult situations that challenged you over the years?
The most difficult ones, I think, over time, when you look back over time, then everything becomes, a little bit, you look at it from a more relative perspective. I knew that in high school, you started with that. I had to double 1 year when I was 14, I think, 14 or 15. I had to double 1 year, and I thought it was the end of the world. And with hindsight, that was the best that could ever have happened to me. I think that such, even though at that point in time failures or traumatic events turn out later to become something from which you have tremendously learned and benefited. So if I now look back in 35 years, there are failures, and nobody wants to do something today and fail tomorrow, but it is those failures, or let's say, or circumstances not working out as you thought they would, that really help you, and from which you can learn a lot. Not maybe on that particular moment, but when you put it later a little bit back into reflection. So now looking back, what then everything that went wrong, being defined as that didn't go as I thought it would go, or that didn't go as I wanted it to go, turned out to be something that without those learning lessons, let's say failures, it wouldn't have brought me further. And a good friend of mine, in Netherlands. He's a professor in sciences and physics, and he set up an institute. And You can Google it. It's called the Institute of Brilliant Failures, I think he calls it. And basically, he's saying, brilliant failures are the best that can happen to you because you learn from it. So when you have a well-intended task that goes wrong, so we're saying we should celebrate successes, but I think that's what he's arguing, and it's very, in a way, has also some humor in it. You should also celebrate your failures. Yeah. Yeah.
So we should celebrate our failures.
We should celebrate our failures as well. Yeah.
Please tell me now, what are you doing when things get out of your control?
When things get out of, maybe the initial reaction always is that you don't like it, because you like to have things under control. But sometimes it is maybe good not to have things fully under control. I think what to me eventually is important to at the right time to say, okay, now let's take a step back, and then to step out of it and to zoom out. I call it to zoom out. So looking, getting out of the moment, getting out of the heat, then later on zooming out a bit and looking at it from a distance, and then try to analyze it or to understand it or to evaluate or to review it. But zooming out is really something that helps me a lot. And the more you zoom out, the more, when you look at the Earth from the moon, then your daily problems don't look so important anymore. Everyone will understand that. But taking a bit of a step back, and also try to, not always easy, and also then try to let go a bit, and then look at it again later, the next day, a few days later, or whatever, with a different and fresh perspective. And so freshing up the mind, letting it go, and for me, sporting helps a lot in that. It's not the reason why I sport. I do like to sport. I mentioned at the beginning when you asked me about my childhood. So that always kept a constant sporting and being active. That's something I really like to do. But it absolutely helps a lot when you want to zoom out a bit of things that go. So that is for me very important. What is also very important is to realize in time that it is better to let go. Sometimes you can hang on to something too long. For too long, and then actually it could even get worse instead of better. Yeah.
Have you ever felt that you no longer like what you're doing professionally?
Yes. It's so, but then it really is about the setting in which you operate. So it could be that because banking is banking, and I think now after 35 years. Then you can always still learn, of course. But so when you are then in a setting, in a job, in a group with people, with I don't know, your bosses or managers or teams, and you realize that this is not my place. That you feel that there is really something that where you say no, this is yes. I've had it, and I think everyone who is in 35 years of working will have such moments. And I think also there, I would say what's important, at least to me, is you need to analyze it for yourself. But if you really come to the conclusion, you need to do something. So you set yourself a goal, and you say, I give myself, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, but really giving it an effort. So not in the emotion of the day, but you set yourself a goal. You say 3 months, 6 months, and if then the circumstances have not changed or you cannot change, then you should go. And that sounds easy, but it's not, because it could have far-reaching consequences, but drastic consequences. And but the worst thing is really then to hang on, because then you will be overtaken by by I don't know, by maybe negative energy, and your motivation starts to be impacted, and it doesn't get bad. Yeah. So also sometimes that can be a big learning experience. But then again, I mean, it's not that you have all those moments all the time. Yeah, this happens in a
just sometimes.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, not. I mean, because then it's really fundamental to ask yourself. I mean, this is also something that I still do, is asking yourself, if I had not been in here for the last 3 months, what would it have made a difference? And if I had not been here for the last 6 months, would it have made a difference? And if you cannot answer that question to yourself, or even worse, if the answer would be no, it wouldn't have made any difference, then it's a sign for yourself, and you need to act on that. So that's for me the way to deal with it. But again, this is not like this happens all the time, that you're asking yourself, am I in the right place? Am I in the wrong place? This happens really occasionally, but you feel it. You do feel it. You do know for yourself when you're in the wrong place, or in the wrong job, or in the wrong environment, or in the wrong, and then. But at the same time, you have you have yourself. So you have yourself to do something about that. And I think that's important, not to just let it happen.
How do you maintain the balance between your professional life and the personal one?
Yeah. Well, that's also I think libraries full of books have been. Yeah, you know, work-life balance, and of course there's work-life balance, but at the end of the day, it's one life. Yeah, and nobody can argue against that or disagree. You have one life, and in that life you have a lot of things to do, and you need to find a balance for yourself in that, and that's also about setting priorities, and everybody is free to set their own priorities. I'm not so much I don't distinguish, like I have a professional life and I have a personal life. Like, you know, there are barriers between them. It's all intertwined. It's all part of one thing. And then you set your priorities. And yes, of course, this is sometimes challenging. But yeah, I mean, life is challenging, I think. Yeah, so that's just the nature of it, and you need to find for yourself that balance, and that's the way how I approach it. And I think the more you're trying to compartmentalize it, so like I have a job and I have a personal life, which is different from my job, and I'm going to my work from Monday to Friday, and I have a weekend and I have a holiday. That to me is like it's like a alarm bell is ringing. Yeah, that's no. So how do you manage it? I manage it like everyone else, and I like what I'm doing. So then it's not something that is all the time sort of burning me. Like I need to find a balance. You know, I like what I'm doing. I have a certain life, and that's how I see it. So this is how I manage it, and I'm perfectly, for myself, I'm perfectly fine with it.
What are the values that young people should refer to when they're trying to get a job in a company today?
Yes, well, I think this strong desire to learn, to experience, to be curious, to do new things, and to get training and development, and so that you have personal growth, and that you have an environment around you that is supporting you in that. That's giving you the opportunity to learn, and that you get feedback, and that you get training, and that to me is really very important. And independent or regardless of whether you are in whatever industry. I think for young people, when you start your career, be hungry for knowledge, experience. You want to learn, you want to see, you want to explore, you want to feel. And then, values. I mean, values that are important to me are integrity, are respect, is professionalism, and teamwork. Banking is all about teamwork. So integrity, respect, teamwork, and professionalism. These are important values to myself. Yeah.
If tomorrow would be a day just for yourself, what would you do?
A day for myself?
Just for yourself.
Well. So, it's not that I then say, if I have a day tomorrow for myself, I will do something very different from what I'm normally doing. I would enjoy some time. I would think a bit. I would go probably sporting, most likely. I would read a bit. I very much like to read, to understand what's happening in the world, and it's always a lot, certainly these days. And I would reflect a bit, and I would go on. I would go on, and I would go on what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing. I'm proud of what we have been able to do, also in First Bank. So a day for myself, would be a nice day, but wouldn't change much. No.
Okay. How important is to leave behind things that you've learned, and what exactly is the most important thing that you would like that young people should learn from you?
Well, I mean, I think we've already touched upon a number of subjects. When I was a student, I was also a teacher. I was a qualified teacher in economics and mathematics, and I did teach. Sometimes my students were 1 or 2 years younger than I was, because I was myself still a student. So I was teaching on high schools. So I was 19, 20, 21, and my students were 17, 18. And I teached. I got my certification because I wanted it also to be able to earn a bit of money to finance my university studies. But I always liked it a lot, and still I do. And I think helping, like there have been people in my life who helped me, who taught me things from which I learned a lot. So being able to help someone, that is something that gives me great pleasure and satisfaction. If you then see later, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have to do it ourselves. I'm sometimes saying, I can provide you the running shoes, but you need to run. You need to do it yourself, but you need this help and this support. And I'm very grateful for some people whom I came across in my life, in my career, colleagues from the team, managers, bosses, of course, who gave you the trust and who gave you the environment to learn and to grow and to. So if I can also contribute to that, even a little bit, that gives me great satisfaction. Yeah.
How can a young person could learn some things about that field, that economic field? How do they get the information?
Yeah, so economy. It's finance and banking and economy in a way. It's what always intrigues me is everyone is dealing with it each day. Yeah. And certainly the financing part of it, how you deal with your personal finances and the choices you make and how you manage it. And there is in no school curriculum there's anything about that. Okay, you can study economics, but it's not going to teach you much about your personal finances and banking. and I keep on finding it weird in a way. I like it, so I found my profession in it, but I also know that for a lot of people it's difficult. You know, you're running your personal finances and what is happening in finance and in banking. So how can you? I would say you need to find some. You will always find some people in your environment who can talk about it, or who can connect you, who can help you. So I would say just start asking questions around you. Ask questions, and then you will get to someone eventually that will help you. Yeah.
So right now I have a question for you that from where I never get the same answer. What do you think there is a key for the success in a corporation? What is the key of success in this domain?
The key, I think eventually the key to success, I mean, can be a lot, but eventually you need to deliver. I would say that's the key to success. How you do it, how you get there, but you need to deliver. Whatever it is that you have a role in the company, in the team, and you need to get something done. So eventually, to me, if you want to summarize it in one key thing that's important, is that you deliver.
What would you change in the educational domain for things to be in a better way, to work in a better way?
So, what would I change? Well, I mean, it's not that there's one thing that needs to be changed there. So, as I mentioned, I was a teacher myself from very young age, and I've always continued to like teaching and lecturing. Whenever I'm being invited to give a guest lecture, I mean, I always immediately say yes to it. I like it. In high schools or in universities or in, let's say, private settings or for giving the workshop or forum or panels. So I think, and what I like to do it, and I also remember when I was still myself in high school or in the university, not really throughout everything, and even in banking, when you get people from the practice who come to you and who explain something or tell about something or present something, doesn't really matter. I always like that a lot, and I notice when I go somewhere talking to an audience, okay, it depends on the context and what you, and people like to hear about the practice. So yeah, bring in people from the practice. Again, when you come fresh from university, you think you know it all, but you know nothing, and in practice, from the practice, and by bringing in people from the practice, then you people will like it, will want to learn about it. So would I say something needs to change in education? Well, yeah, bring in people from practice.
What were the moral values that kept you up all these years?
Moral values, the values of respect, integrity, professionalism are really strong values to me. Teamwork, and for this you need also others. But to myself, respect, integrity, and I would call professionalism. They're very important. They mean a lot to me.
If you could go back in time, would you choose the same industry? Activated?
With the knowledge of today?
Yes.
With the knowledge of today, well, I mean, in hindsight, yes, I think so. Yes, yeah. I mean, it's not like I would do something different because then I would experience something different. I like the path that I have followed, and there have been some clear personal decisions and there have been some things that happen just because you're young and you're exploring what you want to do in life, and but I'm absolutely very happy with what I'm doing still, and I still want to continue doing it. So yeah, I think the answer would be yes.
Nice, very nice answer. So now my last question and my favorite one is what piece of advice would Henk, standing right beside of me, would give to the Henk of the beginning of the journey?
Wow, that's a difficult one. What would I tell myself at the beginning of the journey? That's a really tough one. So the beginning, I remember very vividly. On a Sunday evening, I took the train from my hometown to Rotterdam, which is the city where was my university. And that on the Sunday and on Monday, I had found a small room in a student house. And on Sunday, I went there with a bag, and somehow, when I was walking from the train station in Rotterdam to my student house, I still remember that very vividly. I know exactly the circumstances, the street, the weather, what I was wearing. Really, it was. And I also remember what I was feeling. Like now it's going to start, and I was so excited about it. I was so like, now I'm on my own. As in, I left the parental place. Not that I was running away from it, but now it's going to happen, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to become a student, and I couldn't wait to start, and then it all started. So, what advice would I give now to that Henk? Is like, would I have done something? Tell that Henk, you need to do it different. No, I think I don't think I would have given any specific advice to that Henk. Could I have done things better? Probably yes. I mean, yeah, it's all. But I was if I call that moment the moment when I started my study and everything, I would let Henk go. I would let Henk. My advice would be, Henk, I let you go. Go.
Thank you very much. Those were my questions, and I'm so happy for being you and for having you here. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Big pleasure. Thank you.
Și cu asta încheiem un alt episod captivant din Forbes Voices. Sperăm că v-a plăcut povestea de astăzi și a fost o plăcere absolută să vă avem aici cu noi. Dacă nu ați făcut-o deja, nu uitați să apăsați butonul de abonare și clopoțelul de notificare, astfel încât să nu ratați niciodată episoadele viitoare, iar un like și un comentariu sunt mereu binevenite. Dacă ți-a plăcut episodul de astăzi, împărtășește-l prietenilor, familiei și oricui crezi că l-ar găsi fascinant. Amintiți-vă, răspândirea cunoștințelor și aprinderea conversațiilor semnificative este un efort colectiv. Înainte de a ne despărți, rețineți că antreprenoriatul și cunoașterea este o călătorie și suntem încântați să vă avem alături în acest drum lung. Așa că, până data viitoare, rămâneți curioși, rămâneți inspirați și continuați să explorați tărâmurile nemărginite ale antreprenoriatului.